The wind swept across Gaul, carrying the scent of fire, blood, and fear. It was 451 AD, and Europe faced a storm unlike anything it had ever seen. One man, one horde, had become the embodiment of terror: Attila the Hun. His name alone could shatter cities, ignite panic, and leave even the bravest men trembling. But not everyone would bow. Flavius Aetius, the last true master of Roman strategy, refused to kneel. He forged an alliance no one believed possible: Romans, Visigoths, and other tribes united by desperation and courage. King Theodoric the Foundless eyed him with distrust, yet even he knew the stakes. "Rome has betrayed us before," Theodoric said, voice heavy with suspicion. "Then let this be vengeance," Aetius replied. "We fight not for crowns, but for survival itself." Attila advanced like a living storm, tens of thousands of riders pounding the earth, a wave of destruction set on consuming everything. Orléans, the gateway to Gaul, trembled under the weight of his ambition. Aetius rode along his lines, eyes burning with determination. "Today we do more than fight. Today we become history. Stand, fight, survive." The battlefield erupted. Arrows darkened the sky. Shields shattered. Steel screamed against steel. The ground shook beneath hooves. The Visigoths held the center with axes and shields. Romans pivoted with precision, exploiting every opening. Chaos became the only constant. Attila rode at the forefront, laughing as he carved paths of terror through the coalition's ranks. "They think they can stop me," he muttered. "They will bleed for the attempt," Onegesius replied. Aetius roared, "Then we die stopping him." Hours passed. Mud, blood, and fire turned the plains into a nightmare. Theodoric met Attila in the center, steel clanging with unyielding force. Sparks flew. "You fight well," Attila said, eyes glinting with cold admiration. "And you will remember the fallen," Theodoric replied, striking with fury. The Huns attacked in waves, relentless and terrifying. Each charge met calculated resistance. Individual acts of heroism lit the battlefield. A Roman shielding a fallen comrade, a Visigoth sacrificing himself to save his brothers in arms. Every second was a test of courage, of endurance, of the human spirit. By dusk, the battlefield was a hellscape. Bodies littered the plains. Horses screamed into the dying light. Attila withdrew, battered but alive. For the first time, his unstoppable horde had been checked. Europe had survived. The coalition buried the dead, tended the wounded, and fortified positions. Aetius addressed his leaders. "History favors not the strongest, but the resolute. Today we held. Tomorrow we prepare. Attila will return, but so will we. Stronger, smarter, unbroken." Theodoric, exhausted and bloodied, placed a hand on Aetius's shoulder. "You carry the burden well." "We survived," Aetius replied. "That is enough." Even as Europe rebuilt, Attila brooded. Rage and fascination twisted his face. "They dared to resist," he whispered. "Next time they will not escape me." The survivors moved through a fragile calm. Fires burned low. Soldiers huddled around what little warmth remained. Stories emerged of heroism, courage, and defiance. A Roman soldier had saved his Visigoth comrade. A unit had held a broken line against impossible odds. These acts were small yet monumental. Weeks passed. Aetius trained his men relentlessly. Every spear thrust, every shield block, every maneuver became a lesson. Survival demands preparation, vigilance, and relentless resolve. "You faced the storm," he said to a young soldier. "You endured its fury. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite it." Attila's shadow lingered, restless and calculating. His horde would return, hungrier, stronger, and more vicious. But Chalons had proven something critical. Even the unstoppable could be resisted. Even the godlike could be denied. Europe had survived not by luck, but by unity, strategy, and human determination. Each grave, each scar, each act of defiance became part of a larger story. A story of men who refused to bow, of leaders who risked everything, and of a continent that survived the storm. Aetius walked the battlefield one final time, taking in the silence that followed the fury. "We held the line," he whispered, "and in doing so, we changed history. But the fight is never over. History is never kind." We endure because we must, because we will, because we cannot do otherwise. The plains grew quiet, smoke lifted, Europe rebuilt, stories of Chalons spread, stories of terror, courage, and survival. Attila had been checked but not defeated. The shadow of the Huns remained, a constant reminder that vigilance is the price of life, and bravery the only shield. And in that quiet, one truth became clear. Courage, unity, and unwavering resolve can stand against even the darkest storm. The Battle of Chalons was not just a fight, it was a lesson, a warning, a testament. The men who fought there had stared into the abyss and refused to blink. Europe had survived the day, but the story of Chalons would echo for centuries. It would be whispered in fear, sung in triumph, and remembered as the moment when men faced annihilation and refused to fall. History had been written, not in ink, but in blood, fire, and the unbreakable human will. And that, above all, is why the Battle of Chalons matters. Because it proves one thing: even when the storm seems unstoppable, there is always a line that can be held. And sometimes, all it takes is a few determined souls willing to stand against it.